All right, welcome back. Today we are diving into a really profound chapter from the Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 4, which is all about something called transcendental knowledge. We're going to unpack some huge ideas here, things about action, karma, and what it really means to be free. So let's just start with this, because it's a wild idea. What if there was a kind of knowledge so powerful it could literally erase the consequences of your past actions? All of them. I mean, that's a huge claim, right? But that is exactly the promise that Krishna is about to make to his friend Arjuna, who is stuck in this absolutely impossible situation on a battlefield. So let's dive in. The first big point Krishna makes is, look, this isn't some new philosophy I just streamed up. This is an ancient path, a wisdom that's been around forever. You see, this whole science of yoga that the Gita talks about, it's ancient. It's this deep wisdom that's been passed down through a perfect, unbroken chain. It was always meant to be a kind of blueprint for how to live. So you might be wondering, well, why is Krishna bringing it up now? It's because Arjuna, he's in a total crisis, right on the verge of this massive war. He represents all of us when we feel completely overwhelmed and confused. He's asking the questions we all ask. How do I do the right thing when everything feels so wrong? And this is where we get this really key concept called parampara. You can think of it like a perfect chain of custody for wisdom. It shows that this knowledge comes from the absolute highest source, Krishna himself. He gives it to the sun god, Vivaswan, who passes it to Manu, the father of humanity, who then gives it to King Ikshvaku. So this isn't just some random list of names, It's making a point. This knowledge is pure. It's authentic. It hasn't been watered down. Okay, but wait a minute. If this chain was so perfect, how did it get broken? And that's exactly what the text says happened. Over vast stretches of time, the link was lost. The original meaning got fuzzy, and the science of it all just kind of disappeared. And that's the perfect setup, isn't it? It explains why this conversation between Krishna and Arjuna is so important. It's a reboot of this powerful, essential truth that the world had forgotten. So that brings us to the next big question. Why does Krishna even show up in our world in the first place? Well, the Gita lays it out pretty clearly. There are three main reasons. Number 1, to protect the good people, the pious. Number 2, to deal with the troublemakers, the miscreants who are causing all the chaos. And number 3, and this is the big one for our discussion, to reestablish dharma, the essential principles of a spiritual life, to bring back those core truths that, like we just saw, had gotten lost to time. And this is where things get really fascinating. Krishna explains that his appearance is totally different from ours. He says, look, I'm unborn. My body doesn't decay. He isn't forced into this world by karma like we are. He shows up by his own power, completely outside the laws of nature that bind us. And just wrapping your head around that, the transcendental nature of who he is and what he does, is actually a huge part of finding freedom. Okay, so let's get down to the practical side of this. What does all this understanding actually mean for us, for our actions in the real world? This is where the Gita just turns our whole idea of work completely on its head. It says, hey, it's not really what you're doing that gets you tangled up in karma, it's the why. So you've got action. That's when you work, but you're attached to the results, always thinking, what's in it for me? That leads to entanglement. Then there's inaction, which is just giving up on your duties. And that's no good either. That just leads to degradation. But then there's the third way, action in knowledge. This is the real game changer. You do your duty, you do it as well as you can, but you're not attached to the outcome. You do the work itself as an offering. That is the path to freedom. And this enlightened way of acting has a name, yajna, which we usually translate as sacrifice. But we have to be careful, because it doesn't just mean a fire ritual or something. In this context, yajna is a whole mindset. It means any action, your job, your family duties, anything, can become a sacred offering when it's done for a higher purpose, free from that selfish desire. And the Gita is really broad here. It says there are all kinds of sacrifices, right? Some people sacrifice their possessions. That's charity. Others practice austerity, things like fasting. Some people pursue mystic yoga. Others dedicate themselves to studying the scriptures. And all of these are seen as valid paths. But, and this is the climactic point of the argument, all of them, every single one, finds its ultimate fulfillment in the greatest sacrifice of all, the effort we make to attain true knowledge. Which brings us to the grand finale of the chapter, the fire of knowledge. What does this knowledge actually do?
This is probably the most powerful metaphor in the whole chapter. It says that transcendental knowledge is like a roaring fire. Think about it. A huge fire consumes everything you throw into it, right? It just turns it all to ash. Well, that's what this knowledge does to your karma. All the accumulated reactions from your past actions, good and bad, they just get burned up, gone. It's the ultimate purifier, just wiping the slate clean.
And then there's this other amazing image. If this world, with all its struggles, is like a vast ocean of miseries, then this knowledge is the sturdy boat that lets you cross it. Now, that doesn't mean the waves and storms of life just stop. Of course not. But it means you have a way to navigate them. You won't get pulled under. You can see the waves for what they are and safely get to the other side. So when you put it all together, the message is crystal clear. This knowledge isn't just one nice thing among many. It's the whole point. It's the final destination of all sacrifice. It's the fire that purifies every action, and it's the boat that carries you to safety. It is, as the Gita says, the most sublime and pure thing in this world. And so Krishna's final command to Arjuna in this chapter is really a call to action for all of us. He tells him to take this knowledge and use it like a sword to cut through the doubts and fears that are holding him back. With that clarity, he can finally stand up and do what he needs to do. And that leaves us with a real question, doesn't it? What doubts in our own lives could be cut down by this very same sword of knowledge?